I have Bren Bybee is joining on behalf of Orem as the alternate. Matt Dahl is here in the room with us. We have Doug Hill from Murray. We have Mayor Bott from Brigham City, Robin Meekum from Centerville, and Bob Barnhill from Perry. Did I miss anyone?
Okay, that's what I have as well, just from trying to catch them as they come on. So, and
Derek's on as well, Derek Euler, but we have DJ as well as the representative.
Yeah, if we got Mayor Bott, we don't need Derek.
Derek's clearly an honorable mention.
Maybe.
I agree with that, Mayor.
He's calling me names, by the way, on text.
Yeah, Chris, can you just permanently mute Derek so he can't throw in one-liners? He had his own meeting earlier. Well, very good. Let's go ahead. Sounds like we can go ahead and start the meeting. We just can't vote. So do we have to have the quorum for to even go into the public hearing? Because it's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
Public hearing.
We can do a public hearing. We can open that. We just are short of the number to be able to vote on financial matters.
So we could skip the finance stuff until we have EFO or someone else to
Hopefully they join. Okay, very good.
do everything else.
Well, let's go ahead and start then. Thank you for your time this morning. It's must be vacation time of the year or something, but for some, but we appreciate you taking time out of your schedules today, all the members of the board, and also want to acknowledge and express appreciation to the staff, those that are joining and those that are not. Thanks for all you do, and hope you and yours are well. The first item of business is a approval of minutes from the April 14th, 2025 board meeting. Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes? If not, I'll be happy to entertain a motion for approval.
I will make this DJ. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of, what was it, April
14th?
14th.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
Second, Matt Dahl.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Been a motion and a second to approve the board meeting minutes from April 14th, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Next item is a public hearing to allow public comments regarding the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget for Utopia. So I'd be happy to entertain a motion to go into a public hearing for that purpose.
This is DJ again, so moved.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
Matt Dahl seconds again.
Okay, let's just do a roll call on that. Thank you, Matt. Bren?
Yes.
Bob Barnhill from Perry?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Mayor Bott?
Yes.
Councilmember Meekum?
Yes.
And Doug?
Yes.
And Leighton is an aye. Brent, did I miss you? Or I got you?
You got Bren.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, we're now in a public hearing then to allow comments. Are there any members of the public, either online or in the Utopia offices, that wish to speak to the proposed budget?
We'll just note here that we don't have no one from the public came to our offices, the location of the meeting, and we don't have anyone online making comments or even anyone.
Okay, then Jason, did you have some information you wanted to present on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And it'll just be quickly. I did want to bring up, I didn't put too much about it in the packet, but there is one change I made to the budget from the executive budget to the board budget. I'll hurry and go through some slides. Most of the slides I'm going to show are the same as what I showed before. I'll hurry and share my screen. Okay. The one change that we have isn't real easy to see unless you actually go look at the budget document, what's in there. But the one change we have is we have been approved for a government grant from the federal government to replace some of old equipment that we have that is of Chinese make for some of our servers. It is 100% of the cost of the labor to replace the servers and the equipment to replace the servers. So
Technically switches, but network
What's that?
switches. They're network switches, not servers.
Oh, network switches, sorry. I get confused over electronics sometimes. Thank you, Roger, for correcting me on that stuff. But yeah, it's 100% grant. So I have a grant. There's a grant revenue line shown in there, and then there's another I've increased capital projects both by $1.7 million. That's the amount of the project. Any questions on that?
Who's that coming from? The federal government, but through which department or program?
It's coming through USAC. I don't even know what that's called, but it's the FCC, right?
Jason, yeah, the FCC's 5640 program, affectionately known as the Rip and Replace program. The FCC has appropriated over $4 billion to remove all the network electronics of Chinese origin from not just our network, but also all the other big providers as well. We got about $1.7 million in award from the FCC to do that program. About 1.2 million of it is for the electronics themselves, and the rest is for the labor component. So it's 100% fully funded reimbursement to take the Huawei switches that we have on our network off, and then replace them with Nokia switches, new switches.
And that, thank you. And that's across the entire network?
Well, they're a subset. We don't use them everywhere. There's been some areas where we've used those. So we have a mixed vendor environment where we would deploy the Huawei switches. They'll be ripped out.
Okay, what's
They're good
the
switches, but it's more of a national security thing, and the federal government wanted them out, so they're paying for it.
okay? What's the timing? I'm just curious. What's the timing of that? And I assume that's pretty seamless. We shouldn't expect any outages or stand downs or anything like that.
Yeah, so the program rules are that once we start, we have 1 year to complete the program. That timeline has already started as of late last month. So by the end of May next year is when we expect to be done with that. We've got a more aggressive timeline internally to get that done within 6 to 8 months, as opposed to using the full 12 months. And so we're in the process of awarding an RFP for the labor component. But we're also sourcing the electronics from Nokia right now. We don't expect that there's going to be any disruption to the actual service of our customers. We're going to treat this as a standard maintenance procedure. We'll do it after hours and sort of that midnight to 6 a.m. window where we do all of our other maintenances.
So there'd be an interruption, but a planned one.
Yeah, planned interruption, sorry.
Early morning, right? Like 2 in the morning. And it wouldn't be for the full duration. It would just be, for minutes or something for customer at very early in the morning.
Okay.
But that's our typical window. Obviously there's updates and changes and things that we have to do, and our process allows for notification of customers and planning that and doing it during early morning window. So most customers won't notice it except for the people at work
After hours.
I mean, there's always somebody, right, who's playing video games or they work an off schedule, and but we do our best to minimize the impact.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like you got some jets flying around in Layton.
Yeah. I wonder if you can hear me. Yes, we like them.
Next thing shown here is the recurring operating revenue, which we show increasing by $1.9 million year over year. So we're definitely excited about that. Here's our total expenses and debt service. It shows here that our total debt service is going from 16.2 million to 16.5 million for the original Utopia bonds in the next year. So the increase is 300 and something $1,000 there. Management fees coming from Utopia to UIA are going up by 4%. This is pretty consistent with the growth we're projecting in UIA. We're finding as we have more customers that putting on 3,000 or 4,000 more customers a year ends up being a smaller percentage every year as we're going through. And we are projecting growth to be a bit smaller as we have especially in UIA, we don't have new cities coming on like we do in Utopia right now with Bountiful. Bountiful being our main area, probably our biggest area of growth right now. If you're looking at Bountiful and Bozeman, Montana, those are the two that have a lot of growth going on, although we are seeing good growth in UIA still. Operating expenses, they're projected to go up by $1.4 million next year. These are the areas that they're going to be going up. These are the same that were shown previously when we looked at the tentative budget. Proposed COLA and merit, I've actually changed this slide from what's in your packet. I'm sorry if somebody saw something in the packet that's different, but right now the Utopia proposal for COLA and merit's 2.5 and 2.5. That's what was discussed in the last board meeting, and that's what we've reflected here. If anybody wants to stop me at any time, feel free. Salaries and benefits, if you look, we have a net shown here of two new employees with some employees that moved around between departments. With the moving of the chief marketing officer with Kim leaving, we did do a reorganization of where some people reported when she left. Some people that were reporting to her are now reporting different places. There are 4 new positions that have been proposed in the new budget. And additionally, there are 2 existing positions that the chief marketing officer has been removed, and an inside plant engineering tech position basically is what we're moving that to for the technology analyst is kind of our thinking internally doing that. And here's the proposed distribution from Utopia to cities. It's going from 4.6 million to 4.9 million, up 318,000. That's the same as the increase in bond payments over year. We are excited for this is the fiscal year 2026 budget. This marks the last of 3 years in UIA that we've had significant increases in bond payments and the amount of cash going out yearly per bonds, and we've managed to increase our revenue and keep up with that. Next year, the increase in bond payments is much lower finally, so we're interested to see what we can do here next year. That's all I have as far as budget presentation. Any questions?
Can you cover the fund balance? I know you did last time, but could you refresh me on the fund balance negative number?
Yes. We have a fund balance that's continuing to get more and more negative, and the main reason is because when the cities make a payment to pay for the bonds, the bond payment that's due each year, that's basically what's shown on this slide, this $4.6 million. We, on Utopia's book, show that as an amount that is owed to the cities. And it's an interest-bearing amount that we've paid with the PTIF account each month. So whatever the average PTIF rate was for the month, we have interest expense going up there. This payment and that interest cause our fund balance to go negative. Per Utah state law, we are required to budget for 5% of our annual revenues to decrease our negative fund balance. Because of that, what I do is I have a miscellaneous income line that I increase by that 5% to show that it's been budgeted to decrease that fund balance because it's required by state law. If not, I'll be written up, which I have been before. That revenue may or may not come in, most likely won't in Utopia's case. but I have to budget for it by state law. Does that answer your question? That's an accountant trying to speak in normal talk. So.
Yeah, I think I got you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions from the board of Jason regarding his financial presentation or budget presentation?
Alex, just for me, just for the motion, when we do it, is it the motion for the 25-26 fiscal year or just 26?
For the 25-26.
Okay.
Jason, this is Doug. Are there any red flags or do you have any concerns forward looking that the board should be aware of?
As far as financial goes, it's always assumptions if you're going to have concerns, and probably the biggest one's going to be customers. And Roger will cover that when he goes through his network update for sure. There's always risks there, but I haven't seen any risks that haven't been accounted for in our assumptions that we've seen so far. It'd have to be a change from the direction we've seen, in my opinion.
Okay. Any good question, Doug? Any other questions or comments?
If not, DJ moves that we approve the 25-26 budget as presented.
Okay, let me just circle back, Mayor. Hold that for just a second, if you would. I'll circle back. I think I know the answer, but has anyone joined or anyone come into the office representing the public that would like to speak to the proposed fiscal year 26 budget?
And no one online and no one has entered the room.
Okay.
Public hearing.
Okay.
You're right. I apologize, Alex. I move that we close the public hearing.
No, thank you, Mayor Bott. So Mayor Bott has made a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
That was Robin.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Council member, let's do a roll call vote. Bryn?
Aye.
Bob?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Mayor Bott?
Yes.
Council member Meekum?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Leighton is an aye. Have I missed anybody?
Ifo.
Oh, Ifo,
Alex,
okay.
I joined.
Thank you, Ifo. I apologize.
Nope, you're good. And yes.
You are fine? Yes, okay. All right, very good. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Now we have the opportunity to consider approval of resolution UT 2502, which is actually the resolution approving the budget for fiscal year 2026.
Mayor Bott will now so move.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
Doug Hill, second.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Let's go ahead and do a roll call again. Ifo?
Yes.
Bryn?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Mayor Bott?
Yes.
Councilmember Meekum?
Yes.
And Doug?
Yes.
And Leighton is an aye as well. Okay, very good. That appears to be unanimous. Thank you. And Jason, thanks for your work on that, and Roger and the other staff. Next item is a financial update from Jason. Do you have anything additional you want to share there?
Yes, I do. Let me just share my screen with the financial update that we look at every board meeting. If you look at our revenues in here, residential transport revenue is showing 490,000 low is where I'm projecting for the end of the year, but access fees for fiber lease are showing 548,000 high. This is partly because of how I budgeted a change of, we had some legacy customers that were on the system from clear back at the beginning that were paying a different amount than the rest of the customers. And I budgeted for an increase of revenue to come through in residential transport when we discontinued these legacy products. The actual increase in revenue came through the fiber lease line. So really, if you look at recurring revenue for Utopia, we're projecting to be over budget this year by 200,000 on the recurring revenue lines, 200 or 300,000, whatever the sum of those first four lines are. The miscellaneous operating revenue we're projecting to come in under. This is the fund balance thing that I brought up when we were going over the budget, saying I had to have 5% of our revenue in this line. So that's where I put the line, this where we don't always meet our expectations. That's covered down under operating expense where we have a reduction of fund balance deficit line that's budgeted $3 million and ends up being zero. So that's kind of where those two net out. If you look at operating expenses, our payroll expenses are projected to be below budget. That's just due to trying to keep positions filled and having churn and people coming in and out for the year. We've had quite a bit of churn if you look at the year. We're over if you look at network operating expenses, especially. That's the big place that we're over. But it's a lot of the services we're doing to keep up is where we ended up over this year, and that's a lot of it's due to the growth we're seeing in Utah. Just we're having line breaks, we're having things like that we're having to fix, and sometimes we can pass them through to customers. Sometimes we've got to go do them ourselves. So that's kind of what we're seeing there. The good news is down below, if we look at the capital financing and revenue area, I now have some pretty good estimates on where I think we're going to end the year. And when I say pretty good estimates, I'd say I'm within at least, $1 million, probably within a few $100,000 on these lines. But for the Bountiful construction contract, I'm projecting we're going to end the year at $17.2 million of revenue on that contract and $12.3 million of expense on that contract. If we look at that contract life to date, and I mean, give me $500,000 either way, we could come in over or under, I don't know. But I'm thinking we're going to be about $1.6 million more of revenue than we show just construction expense. Those revenues are needed to pay for marketing and the salaries of people who've worked on the project. So I don't really look at it as net profit, but it definitely does help our cash flow and is something that's very good. So I do think we'll be cash flow positive on the project if you just look at it from a construction standpoint. And that's very, very good for life to date. We still have connections going on, and we still have an amount we're billing for each connection and amounts we're paying out for each connection that happen in the future until we hit like 7,200 connections total. So that'll be going on for the next few years. You'll be seeing connections come in and out on that line. Any questions on the financials? If not, I'll show the recurring revenue charts. We continue to have good revenue months. If you look at this is monthly recurring revenue. The biggest deal that I can show on this is these are based off April results. And in April, we did cross the $4 million a month in UIA that we're now getting in revenue, which is a very, very good line for us. And if you look at the revenue versus the bond obligation, we continue to see that widen. And once again, that's what makes it possible for us to make the payments to cities we have made so far and hope to continue to make an increase in the future. Any questions? That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Let's go to the next item, which is a network update from Roger.
So a lot going on over the last couple of months in this industry for broadband. So I wanted to kind of make mention of that and how that might impact us. Generally, things have been difficult in this industry. Just construction costs have gone up, interest rates are high. A lot of companies wanting to grow have really run into problems. So we're seeing a lot of market consolidation. Some of the big ones out there, Verizon acquiring Frontier. That one doesn't affect us much. It's not really in our territory. We have Charter and Cox merging to become the largest broadband company in the country by subscribers. They're not big in fiber, but they're big in cable, which is fine. We take cable customers very easily. But we do overlap with Charter in Bozeman, but not in most of our other cities. Now, the big one that's impacting us here is we have AT&T acquiring the a portion of Lumen. So Lumen is what we know mostly as CenturyLink, but they rebranded or renamed themselves to Lumen. And then they have been doing fiber builds for fiber to the home under the brand of Quantum Fiber. So you may have seen them upgrading. They have an advantage to upgrade because they already have existing infrastructure. So it's a lot easier, it's quicker and cheaper for them to build fiber because they can attach to the existing rights of way and pull attachments and whatever. It's not really building from scratch. We saw them do quite a bit of expansion in our cities. It really appeared to be kind of an attempt to pump their valuation, even with them selling at a loss. So they priced it low and were very aggressive and used door-to-door campaigns. But now they've sold it to AT&T for $5.75 billion. That'll take probably about 6 months for them to get regulatory approval. So we won't see AT&T fiber immediately, but we will likely see them early next year come into the market, taking over all the CenturyLink residential, CenturyLink, Lumen, Quantum Fiber. That'll all be AT&T now. AT&T is a much more aggressive company and has much better cash assets and investment capacity than Lumen did. Lumen was in a pretty difficult position. So it's something we're definitely keeping an eye on. We do think we compete well with them still, but they're a more formidable competitor than Lumen has been. We've seen some impact already to Quantum Fiber and their deployment. So they went in and overbuilt all of Brigham City and Centerville and then sent door-to-door campaigns through those. We've seen some loss of customers in those cities. If you look at the city-specific charts, you'll see a little bit of a dip. The nice thing is that overall, we're still growing much, much faster than we're taking losses. And in those cities where we've taken some losses, they weren't very big losses. And once their door-to-door campaigns left, we've seen a lot of those customers coming back to us. So it's not like that we're not concerned. Again, it's something I think we all want to be vigilant here at Utopia and with the cities that we have this, competitive environment that we operate in. Obviously our approach is, hey, we're not competing with anyone. We build the fiber and want everybody to use it. But when a company is very stubborn and chooses not to, it can still represent a competitive threat to us. Jason mentioned that our financials are up through April. May was actually a fantastic month for us. Across the whole system of Utopia and UIA partnerships, we had a net growth of over 1,000, which is a phenomenal month. So despite some pressures here and there, things are actually about as strong as they've ever been, to be honest. So again, I don't want to be overly confident based on how good of a month we just had, but it's a pretty good sign that things aren't bad either, and that demand is strong. We continue to see people switching away from every other option to Utopia, more so than we see customers get lost occasionally because of a door-to-door salesperson. On the topic of door-to-door sales, we've actually stepped into that world as well. We had started last year in Bozeman. We thought that was kind of a low-risk market to try it out to see if we could have a good experience, minimize complaints, have a community-driven message versus just kind of the typical do whatever you can to sell a contract. And it was really well managed and was very successful. And so we've talked a little bit about doing this in Utah in the past, that we had started in West Valley City. And if you're to, in fact, I'll pull it up here just quick. It's in your packets. If you were to look at your subscriber reports, you can see some of the impacts of these efforts. But if I were to look at West Valley City, which is this line here, you can see it's actually their subscriber rate has jumped up quite a bit. And in a city as large as West Valley City, that's a big difference. We used to be adding 20 or 30 a month, and that was good. And now we've had a few months of around 200 a month. And so definitely there's a big impact of the door-to-door. And so as that happens in your cities, we're taking a pretty conservative approach to it, but we're on a very tight feedback loop with the sales reps. So if there are complaints, we want to know about them. We want to get either the messaging fixed, or if it's a bad actor who's too pushy, or whatever it may be. We want to react quickly. Again, we don't want to harm our reputation or the reputation of the cities. It's much more delicate than it would be for a normal broadband provider. But at the same time, we still find people who don't know who we are or what we do. Despite all of the marketing money we spend on ads and flyers and the city banners and all the stuff that we do. And so we are reaching a lot of people that still, for whatever reason, we have not been able to get the messaging to that there's this great city fiber network that they can benefit from. So we want to continue doing that. We've expanded the door-to-door efforts into outside of West Valley City into Murray and Midvale. So specifically those cities, we'd just be a little more sensitive to any complaints that might come in and let them, forward them to me or Jeff. We're dealing more closely with the door-to-door teams just to make sure, again, that we're not generating any problem for you. We talked to them. It's like, if we're getting calls or the city's getting calls, right? There's this guy who's super pushy. We all hate that, right? So we know it's a little bit intrusive to have people out on the doors. However, the messaging is actually pretty well received, as people generally don't like their broadband provider if they're not on Utopia. So you show up selling pest control or solar or something like that, people are like, hey, get out of here. I've already talked to 10 people. Oh, you've got a better option for broadband? People actually are pretty receptive to that. So, because in most cases I'd say in every case, we're improving their service, right? It's a better system and usually at a lower cost. So it's pretty well received. But again, we don't want to cause problems for you. And it is creating quite a bit of revenue growth for the organization and the cities, and our ability to increase payments in the future. The long-term benefit of investing in a little more aggressive marketing approach is very, very good for us financially. Jason's usually pushing back on everything that we try to do. I'm just kidding. But he's like, the economics of this actually are fantastic. So we want to continue to do that, both for the benefit of increasing our revenue, but also just the long-term, just getting it out to people. There are a lot of people who would benefit from this investment the cities have made that still just don't know about it. And anyone that we're not the best option for is a little bit of a failure from our perspective. The fact that they don't even know about us is a big failure. So again, it's another tool that we're using. So I just want to bring attention to that. And if you were to look at the city specifics of Brigham City and Centerville, where we've seen the competition come in aggressively, we don't think we'll continue to see that level of aggressive behavior because of the Lumen is not in the position to do that. They're committed to a sale of their system. So we're probably going to have some relief there, but it's something that could come back with AT&T when they get things wrapped up. I did want to make mention of the BEAD program. It's big news in the broadband industry. It's the federal program that's $42 billion that they're making available for connecting unserved households. Utah didn't get a lot of that. Utah got 300 million approximately. And they've been doing lots and lots of applications and work. Our team has had to ramp up to that. All the providers in the state have really been putting a lot of work into this to become eligible for money, for potential growth. And the whole program basically got redone and ruined last week by the federal administration running to retool it towards favoring satellite and wireless providers instead of fiber, which everyone quickly identifies as what a huge waste of money and what a missed opportunity to connect people with long-term beneficial infrastructure that lasts a lifetime versus a temporary, disposable, less capacity, unreliable solution like satellite and wireless. But as you know, things in Washington change very quickly. And that was a move in the wrong direction. We weren't dependent on that, but it would have been nice to have. And I think everyone in the state, all the broadband providers would say the same, as we were all really excited. So it's a little bit of a blow, but at the same time, there are probably communities out there that say, well, now that this doesn't solve our problems, we're going to have to find some other way to provide reliable broadband to our community. It may actually create more opportunities for Utopia and UIA because there's no real hope. They could get fully funded from BEAD for some wireless provider or a satellite subsidy, and it's like, well, those solutions were already there and aren't going to dramatically change their satisfaction with their broadband. And so that false hope might result in more cities deciding to roll up their sleeves and get involved. As always, we're in conversations with various communities that are interested, but we haven't had a recent partnership formalized. But obviously there's conversations going on. It's a little difficult time for that because election season's kicked off. So people aren't really preoccupied with looking at solutions. They're more focused on winning elections. Again, there's always conversations going on. There are many cities still in Utah that are unserved from a fiber perspective, and also in other nearby states with partnerships similar to Bozeman or Idaho Falls. Those have been good for us. And things in California are progressing. We've made mention of the RCRC group, known with their broadband division as the Golden State Connect Authority. They've received awards for about just short of $200 million and are seeking to finance another $100 million and to contract with Utopia as their operating partner. And we were not putting any financial resources towards this other than we're just providing services that we charge for and have structured in a way to be profitable to the organization and benefit from our economy of scale with like-minded communities that want to provide open access fiber. Basically cookie cutter, carbon copy of what we do here in Utah. And those types of partnerships have been kind of fleshed out nicely in Idaho Falls and Bozeman. And it basically be similar. We're not expecting any staff in California. The local resources would be either them or contracted. And at Utopia, we just support them from our operations here. And everybody's pretty excited that they actually have money for it now. And unfortunately, it's not dependent on the BEAD program. So their money is secured. Partially, the grants have been awarded, but the financing component is still in the works, and it'll take them a few months. But we're not anticipating any, significant impact to Utopia. When we do have an impact that requires additional staffing just because of the workload, we'd make sure that we're far below the revenue commitments made to cover those positions. We've modeled it on the high end of maybe 10 to 15 positions at most, but we don't think we'll be anywhere near that. We think it's probably more like 5. And again, before we hire anybody or even take action on that, we would have the revenue commitments made to cover or more than cover any expense to Utopia. And they've been clear on their side of it too. We're like, hey, this should never be a burden to Utopia. This should only ever be a benefit. And we've been helpful to them in securing that funds. And this is a first phase of what they hope is a multi-billion-dollar project, but just a first phase of about $300 million. So there's a lot of kind of growth opportunity out there in the works that we're excited for, both inside Utah. We continue to build. We have to continue to bond for keeping up with installation costs and revenue producing activities, but we don't really have any obligations to do anything that's not in our benefit. A lot of times the citywide projects are not all good. There's a mix of good and bad, which is why cities get involved, because there's unserved areas or reasons that they need to take a step to make it happen. At this point, Utopia has the original cities built and the UIA cities are built. So the only time we're really growing and expanding our footprint is with new development in your cities and business opportunities that have a good return on investment outside of our cities. And that is what's resulting in such strong revenue growth. And the long term is to dramatically increase our payments on the original bonds. And the trending looks very favorable to that. We got to stay vigilant on our reputation and our growth, and the competitive pressures from other providers. But right now, everything is very, very strong. Again, we had one of the strongest months we've had in a long time last month, despite all the stuff going on. And we're working hard here at Utopia, keeping up with all that. So anyways, that's a lot kind of stuff going on in the industry and in our market, but overall, we're very happy and confident with the future and how things look. Again, I apologize for my voice. I hope you can understand any of that. Wish I could just fix it.
Thank you, Roger. That's informative and helpful. Are there any questions from members of the board regarding anything Roger has said, or any concerns? Okay, well, very good. That brings us to the end of our agenda. And thank you again for taking time out of your schedules to participate this morning. I should mention or ask, are there any members of the board that have any additional items they'd like to bring up, raise, or ask staff to consider before we jump off? Okay. Well, very good. Again, thanks for your time, and thanks for all you do in your own communities and whatever role you play there, not just in Utopia, but to help make your cities run well and be good places to live and work and so forth. And I know that all of you try to do that in your own ways. And it's a privilege as always, to rub shoulders with you and wish you the best to you and your families and the ones that are important in your life. So with that, I don't think we have any other items. Again, that includes staff as well, so thank you to each of you. I'll be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Seconds.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Hi.
I'm sure. Okay. Well, very good. And have a great day, and thanks for your time today.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.